Oh, this episode of Cinema Swirl was brought to you with the support of our fantastic backers over at patreon.com/cinemaswirl. And hey, if you listen to this episode and you enjoy the Indiana Jones chats, then I've got good news for you. Right now on Patreon, we've got our review of Indiana Jones 4, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull on Cinema Swirl, our monthly exclusive bonus show where Kevin and I review bad movies. For $5 OTP backers, you know the deal by now. If you're interested and you want to find out more, head on over to patreon.com/cinemaswirl. Right, let's get swirling.
Cinema Swirl! That there podcast is looking mighty fine. It's episode number 99, coming to you from the podcast where we... Sam's not seen any movies, and it's me, Kevin, who is here with Sam, who was mentioned previously, and we're looking at a special sequel edition. This is the sequel to episode 98. That's right, episode 99, aka episode 98 2.
Hi, Sam Chaplin 2 here. Keep on Chaplin-in, and welcome to Sequel Swirl. We've done a few of these. Some of the same names keep on cropping up, keep on rising to the surface, and never quite making it.
Battle of the franchises.
Yes. In fact, I think Ghostbusters had enough tries that it kind of really, it just fell off. It just, yeah, it might come back, but it might not.
We might have had a chance, but then Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, didn't you? And you just didn't have any left in you. You didn't have any of that poison that fueled you to get you through. And that was it. We were done with it.
Also, just to go back to the rhyme there, I didn't laugh out loud, but in my head I was thinking, very good. No.
Thank you.
Now that is very good. And so I just wanted to express that to you, because there wasn't any audio feedback from me, but I just want to say, very.
I appreciate that, Sam. Yeah. Thank you. You know, I've often mentioned before that it's the thinking man's laugh when someone correctly identifies something as being funny instead, and just kind of... And now we've reached the next layer, the evolution. It's almost like an ethereal form of that, where you simply, in your mind, think... Now that's funny.
Oh no, now that is good.
Now that is good. And that, of course, my compilation of all my best rhymes will be coming out, which is Now That Is Good 1, Now That Is Good 96, etc., etc. You can afford those in the future.
But you don't want to then have to come up with rhymes for those, because they'll be numbered, and it's a whole thing.
And look, it is a sequel swirl, and we all know a sign of a good sequel was when you've been left on tenterhooks for the next installment. And I'm going to bury the lead right now and say that while trying to come up with a rhyme for episode number 99, Sam doth informed me of the difficult nature of episode number 100, which is upcoming. And I've got one signed, sealed, and delivered, aka in the chamber. Don't worry, folks. Episode 100, the sequel to episode 99, will be coming soon. And it will be a special edition, Sam.
Oh, yeah.
A very special number to reach. And I think that episode number 99, there's a certain roundness to that number that is also special.
Yes. Now, let's be fair, let's be transparent. We did consider trying to do ice cream films for this, or films released in the year 1999, and both of those categories had their problems.
And that was the silliest and most genuine message I ever got from Sam was, are there any ice cream movies? Which was just like, you couldn't help but smile and also rack the brain at the same time. Go, is there? You know, I mean, we did Jack Frost over on Cinema Swirl. I mean, it's very plain ice cream, instead of flavour to Dad's soul, but it is still kind of like an ice cream. But after that, I'm pretty sure we're exhausted. We'll have to wait till episode 199 and hope that someone has found one in the meanwhile.
Yeah, here's hoping. I've seen all of the Cornetto trilogy, and that is also a different ice cream. So it wouldn't work. So we're back with sequels. 3 choices. We had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Last Crusade.
We had Back to the Future Part 3, which again...
Last Crusade.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, that film. It's been in the running plenty of times.
What, are you telling me that it's like not good or something like that? audience, Cinema Swirl fan base.
With your own thoughts and feelings.
We can only ask you to take him to the dance so many times before our feelings get hurt.
And RoboCop 2, which, look...
Why are you holding up 3 fingers when you said that?
the third option was RoboCop 2.
Thank you.
Now, I don't want to step back into Sam Chaplin's controversy corner. I won't. It's fine. But there was a few rumblings of that should be on Swill if that's going to be a thing. You know that.
Really?
Yeah. I've read the replies. I've read the comments.
Wow.
A bit of a rumbling there, and that also reminded me that we did RoboCop, but it doesn't count as one of our official episodes.
It's not. No, that episode was technically lost,
and
then found. And speaking as a child who got lost many times and then found again, you're not really part of the family after that, are you? You're not really... Yeah. Like, I knew after I got lost in Leisureland age 3 that I had kind of overstepped a line and that was it, really, you know? Yeah.
I don't want to, muddy the waters and suggest that this is actually episode 100, because then, it's one of those things where the Wikipedia page will have brackets and asterisks on it and there's footnotes to kind of figure out what episode this actually is. This is episode 99, officially. RoboCop doesn't count.
Official.
Whatever other one we did that should have counted doesn't count.
Oh, you know what it might be, Sam? Yeah. It could be that the Puritans, aka the real Cinema Swirl fan base, didn't want RoboCop 2 to be chucked over in Cinema Swirl because it's a naff dud of a movie. They instead wanted it over there because they didn't want the broken lineage of the otherwise perfect, seamless timeline. Yeah. They want those 100 episodes nice and round there, not this like sequel to an episode that isn't part of the chronology. Say what?
No, that would have been madness. So, you know what?
Sheer madness.
Glad it didn't win. I'm glad it didn't win. All right, I'm going to say it. I'm glad it didn't win. What did win was Indiana Jones 3, The Last Crusade.
I'm excited. This is my favourite Indiana Jones movie by a good stretch, I will say, as well.
Yes, and you told me that at the end of our previous Indiana Jones episode, because I've listened to the tail end of the indie episodes just to fill myself in on what I thought.
How jarring was the difference between 2015 Sam and 2019 Sam? 2020 Sam, even.
It was really... It put me in a weird mood hearing myself from 2015. I can't explain it any differently. That, like... Oh, so much changed in those 5 years. But the thing is, right, and this is probably a weird thing to get into, I don't know if, as a listener, if you just started now from episode 1 and just listened all the way through, you'd notice that we were changing as people.
Well, I've gone on other podcasts I've hosted, I have people tell me, and in person, so it counts like twice as much as tweets, that they had noticed and they were happy to see us change and grow and all that. And when I heard that, I was very happy, because I think I want to strive towards personal growth. And when I heard that, I thought, that's great, I've done that now, and I can kind of put it to one side and I can just kind of be cool now forever, you know? And I'm happy with that I'd already done that. So I think you've done it, Sam, and AKA you don't need to do any more of that, so keep it locked in there now.
Well, so the difference between 2015 and 2020 was pretty stark and pretty kind of like strange to listen to. I don't think the difference between 2020 and 2022 will be that different. I think like I've kind of settled in to like, who I am, what I sound like, how I say things, and from now on, it's just smooth sailing.
I think if I recall that Indiana Jones, that was from that period of time where we were still doing the old school in-person recordings, even though both of our personal and professional circumstances were screaming at us at the top of our lungs that it was no longer viable.
Not
there
convenient.
I was driving back from 3 in the fucking morning after hearing Sam not like Indiana Jones. Now I'm up in 2 hours to go teach in rural Lincolnshire. Maybe there was an issue there.
Yeah. And my voice was definitely lower in 2015. It was still in that era. So, right.
AKA the hard Sam years.
Yes. So I've got the star wipe ratings, and I've got what you said to me at the end of the last Indiana Jones episode that we did. So, the first film, I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I gave it 3 star wipes. So, which is
3?
Yeah.
I think though that's one of those ones where you wanted to give it 2, and I was like, but it's a classic.
Well, for Indiana Jones 2, I really sounded like I wanted to give it 1, but I gave it a generous 2. Because I felt like it wasn't a 1-star wipe movie. It wasn't.
Fair.
I didn't like it. It wasn't like I liked it, but didn't love it. It's like I just didn't like it. 2 star wipes. Now, you said this third one, Last Crusade, is your favourite, and you would be surprised if I didn't like it, is what you said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I'm confident in that now, as I was back then, perhaps even a little bit more so, just because of, I think, the nature of the dynamic in it.
Yeah.
And we're going to meet our old friend, the disgraced and deceased Sean Connery. He is dead.
Double D. Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking, like, you know.
He's definitely dead.
I know what you're all thinking. Imagine if he came back to life. Fucking hell.
Don't worry. We can speak ill of him. He's dead. It's fine.
It's all right, exactly. Yeah. And remember, always speak ill of the dead, and neither a lender or a borrower be. And I think there is a familiarity with Mr. Connery now, and I feel like every time he's been in a movie on this show and over on Cinema Swill, we've invariably had a decent time.
I think we have,
I'm not sure if that's because of him, but I think him and Harrison Ford, I think that's a special combo. I'm not going to explain any more than that, other than the two of them are there. You know, they're on the poster. You posted it on social. You know that much, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I've seen Connery and Ford together at last.
You got an idea of this Last Crusade?
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. We did the first one in 2015. We did the second one in 2020. I did also joke at the time that we should do the next one 5 years from 2020. So we're doing it a little bit early, but that's fine. I can't remember loads about the plot of either of these, really. And I think I remember the second one being almost its own standalone kind of story, right? You didn't really have to have watched Indiana Jones 1 to understand Indiana Jones 2.
Oh, yeah, there were standalone adventures. You know, as long as you knew the basic, which is he is an archaeologist and the worst university lecturer of all time. Yeah,
you just kind of got a good character, and you put him in different kind of situations where he's trying to uncover different bits of treasure. So there's no like characters that I'm clinging to or hoping will return, other than obviously Indiana Jones. So I'm curious to see what Sean Connery's role is.
What would you cast him as? You know, if you're to dream cast here now, like, because you know,
in my head, in terms of visualizing the two men,
I'm one of the dreadful Nazis that's coming round. The Third Reich.
I know that this is factually incorrect, but if I picture the two men in my head, they're roughly the same age. I know they're not, but like in the way that I'm thinking about them, they're sort of similar age.
You've got grumpy old men complex brewing here, I think.
Yes. I'm wondering if Sean Connery was at age level to be Harrison Ford's dad, Indiana Jones's dad. Maybe that's who he is.
Interesting.
Or, I don't know, like a colleague, an old mentor.
He does have, and I love this word, a professorial element to him.
Always, yes,
professorial, funereal, ethereal. That's right, it's 2022, the year of the Ariels.
Oh, well, what a nice bowl of...
A nice bowl of Ariels. I was going to say, did you catch the Ariels down at the Corn Exchange there with Kasabian? They were fucking amazing, man. Fucking amazing. Made me rethink everything.
Best British band ever. But I don't know who's going to be, but my suspicion is Dad. I've got a dad suspicion. That could be wrong.
Indiana and his dad? I mean, you think that's a chip off the old block, that's my boy? Or do we think it's like my father?
Right, here's what I'm picturing, okay? Both strained and estranged relationship, okay? So he's not seen his dad for a while.
Strange, estranged. Would you say strange as well?
So I think they've got a strained, estranged, strange relationship. And it's one for the ages, because I think...
And I've become estranged from my family recently, and we're still working out what that actually means.
Yeah.
In the group chat.
I think the Sean Connery dad out of the picture for a while, then comes into the picture, possibly to try and get some. I was going to say to get some booty, but I mean like some treasure. You know, possibly like, oh, Indiana Jones has uncovered this. Oh, suddenly Dad turns up to try and
Oh, you like John Lennon's dad did in that movie about John Lennon.
Yeah.
I don't like my father. Get out of here. Yeah. Oh, all right. Just thought I'd come up and enjoy the spoils of my son's riches.
And so you think, oh, he's a cynical dad trying to profiteer from his successful archaeological and adventuring son, but through the process
you thought the centrist dad was bad, the cynical dad.
I think through all politicians are bad. I don't like any of them, but and I think if he were to then prove himself in an adventure that they went on together, a kind of odd couple dynamic, that the old wounds still haven't healed, but by the end of it, they're better together and they love each other. And
you say that now, but you've seen Indiana Jones 4, have you not? If I recall from earlier conversations.
Sean Connery nowhere to be seen. So maybe the wounds are healed, the relationship is saved on Sean Connery, the character's deathbed.
I see. So I thought you were going to say the wounds have healed, but the rot has set in, and that is kind of a permanent...
Emotional wounds healed. Physical wounds, some real problems going on to the extent that Sean Connery might have to sacrifice himself for his son. I'm just guessing at plot here of what they could do. I don't even know if he's the dad.
I don't know why, but even in a movie, the idea of Sean Connery sacrificing himself to save someone seems like absolutely no, that would not happen.
Do it.
Never. Well, he'd rip that script right up.
I think I remember saying that the first 5 or 10 minutes of Indiana Jones 2 felt very Bond-like.
Yeah, that's true. He was. And not just because he had a nice tuxedo on him as well.
No, so I think it makes sense to cast Connery, especially at that point in time, as a kind of slightly past it, someone reminiscing about a bygone era where they were going on adventures and, being a kind of slick schmoozer, which is a real cornerstone of the Indiana Jones brand. Look, I'm freeballing. I'm guessing it's a lad and dad adventure. I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Baddies. What do you think we're dealing with? Nazis, stereotypes. Who's coming for Indy and the gang this time?
Well, we've had the Nazis previously,
and we will be having sexy communists, but that's not yet.
Not yet, but
not yet.
To be honest, I can't wait. And
the sexy communists are going to be behind a paywall, unfortunately. Sit up a swill, baby.
As they always are, which is a real shame. Which is not what they would want. Right, so I think who was the villain in the second one? What was like the core villain?
I feel like there's no way to describe him that's not offensive. I'm going to say the witch doctor-y type guy.
Yeah, right, yeah. So who can we offend this time? Or what?
Who's been pissing off George Lucas and Spielberg this time, like?
I don't
Hollywood.
I don't want to guess. I don't know. There must be a baddie. I don't think Sean Connery's the baddie, by the way, but I suppose he could be.
No, he's the daddy, not the baddie. You've already guessed that.
Yes, and he's not a baddie daddy. He might be a bad dad, but he's not the baddie daddy.
Those are very different vibes.
They're completely different. It's where you put those extra DYs, it makes all the difference.
Oh, I was going IE. I don't know what this Y business is.
Oh.
Yeah.
What daddy with an IE. It's such a... I don't like that.
Well, that's what my ketchup and brown sauce is an IE. If I saw a Y, I'd slap it out of your hands.
Oh, I thought
don't
that was
put that on your sandwich.
So I thought that daddies must be because there were multiple daddies who all together owned a sauce company, and that was Daddy's, and so they, because if it was just your dad, it would be Daddy with a Y, right?
Dad sauce.
Dad's. This is Dad's sauce, and that's just written on
Dad's sauce, and it smells of cedar wood, and you won't like it. And I'm giving it to you for Father's Day. As Tesco said I should.
Right. So I don't know who the baddie is, and I don't know what the treasure is that Indiana Jones is on the hunt for, or what he's adventuring for, or if he will be adventuring, but he must do. This is the last Crusade.
I mean, I would say there is a clue in the title there, but that might involve some sort of knowledge of the history of England, and I doubt that would probably.
Yeah, I've not got that, mate. don't have any of that.
For most English, it begins and ends with made-up bollocks about swords and dragons.
I don't think he's going that far back in time. So, do I want to get into asking what a crusade is, or does that really show me up as a fool?
No. We'll wait. We'll do that in the post swirl. It's always more fun to do it then.
All right, I've got a sort of idea in my head of what it could be, but
I feel that I have maybe like Like, if it hadn't been for that comment I made at the end of that last one, I felt like you would have just been like coming in here going, fuck this, I've seen 3 of the 4, I didn't like any of them. And like, why would I like the 4th one? And I realise now that there's perhaps an enhanced pressure on a perhaps throwaway comment that I made at the end of an episode that was made in earnest just to make it seem like it's not all bad. But we're about to find out whether or not you kind of reject the Indiana Jones franchise as a whole.
Yes, but before we do that, shall we take a little dip into the mailbag? Have a little...
Ah, yes. You're rejecting segues as a whole there into the mailbag.
Welcome to the mailbag. Thank you for sending your mail in to cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
In our 99th edition of the mailbag, I think, maybe.
I thought we didn't do it in the first episode.
But we would have done it in the RoboCop one.
You're right. There we go. Look, it all evens out now. It all evens out. Good thinking, Sam. On your feet.
Yeah. When did the mail... Look, we're heading towards the hundo and we're getting nostalgic and trying to work out, I was like, when did the mailbag jingle come in? Because I remember having to write that and, when was this? But that doesn't matter, right? What does matter is that Martin has written in and Martin said the following. Dear Kevin and Sam, first of all, thanks for the fantastic podcast. It keeps getting better and better. Now, I wouldn't typically...
What a question.
What
a question.
Wouldn't typically read praise, but when I listened to myself in 2015, I think I needed the reassurance of someone saying it keeps getting better and better.
Phew, that's good.
Okay, good. So,
and then we get an email next to it where it's like, "I'll bring back them surly, low-talking lads from 2015. They were so tired and sexy and really funny, So
Martin's question is as follows. Into which classic film would you substitute in the character of Mary Poppins if such a thing were possible? Martin writes, personally, I'd replace Harvey Keitel's character in Pulp Fiction with Mary, as I feel that she would be more efficient and musical in her efforts to coordinate the disposal of a headless corpse.
And of course, Vincent Vega, he likes to dance, doesn't he? So he'd do
have a little bop. He'd do the
little bop about
the Pac-Man thing, and Mary would do it as well, and it'd be a bit of fun. And now I had a little think about this. I was going with Swirl Films. I was thinking, I don't know who you'd swap her with, but I think just pop her into the world of Snatch, and I think she'd just... I think bit of Best of British, bring her in, get those lads a bit more prim and proper. Yeah. Just sort them out,
Sort them out.
Those sausages would finally get cooked if Mary Poppins was there to help out. So that's what I'm saying.
I feel like there's a way where we could do this where we end up just thinking about the movies that we've covered that featured the dirtiest rooms and then just put her in there. And I feel like we have taken one of the most magical, whimsical characters in history and just turned her into a cleaner, which feels like we're not doing our part here then. We're like, just stick her around the fucking dude's place. You could do a once over, the old dirty old cups and all that. I was going to say recency bias notwithstanding, I think she'd be great in I think she'd be great in Hellraiser, because if she came in and saw that collection of bile and sinew, and she'd be like, woo, and she'd make all the blood, a spoonful of blood makes the sex pest come alive. It would all work, and it would be less scary then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. She definitely streamlined the process of getting the blood down to Frank.
And I couldn't help but think he'd be less smelly and less gross looking. She'd make it a bit nicer,
I think so, yeah. And get him wearing clothes at the appropriate time when he wouldn't make them all messy by insisting on wearing a shirt to
She would recognise the appropriate moment for, say, a PVC tank top for Frank, which he was sorely needing while he was ruining all the good shirts that had been done out for him already,
Yeah.
I mean, I would also maybe put her in anywhere it's a little bit it could use a little bit of an uplifting aura or whatever. So I feel like you might pop her in there in Con Air, keep them in line a little bit. Maybe it wouldn't become quite the all to do that it was if old Mary was sitting in coach there making sure everything was all right.
When you were saying there was a bit of an aura, I was like, I was worried you were going to go with Passion of the Christ, and I was like, I'm not sure where she would fit in with that one.
I mean, clean the cross afterwards, maybe. I don't know,
I love the juxtaposed vibe, but I think there's a level to it where it would be too much. I don't think she can come in there.
I know, at the end of the movie then, as she comes in, she takes him down off the cross and let's go fly a kite. You too, Barabbas, come on, up to the highest height. Imagine that. Easter would be so much more fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Martin, this is a hell of a question because it's just fun to imagine, popping a bit of Poppins in wherever. Yeah.
Anyone at home, if you want to do an Operation Dumbo drop in Mary Poppins, Operation Mary Pop, let us know. Pop an email to cinemaswirl@gmail.com.
That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. And if you've got any other correspondence, bits and bobs, questions, send them on in. All right, let's seal up the mailbag. We'll put it in some old tomb or cave or something. And
all right, we're past the Jesus Christ thing now.
No, not that. But we'll leave it for a adventurer, an archaeologist to uncover later. And by that point, Martin's message will seem like a prophecy or something really exciting.
Prophecy?
Yeah, not that it wasn't exciting, Martin.
Well, I've got a prophecy for you, Sam Chaplin. I think we're going to go do a cinema swirl. Let's go do a cinema swirl.
Hey, it came true. Right.
We're back. Sam, I know you like indie music, so how did you get on and your initial gut reaction to Indiana Jones 3, The Last Crusade?
That was good. That was good. I like that movie. It was really good. I had a good time with that film. That was more like it. I thought it was cool. I'm just... I was scared in a running away. I can't feel Sorry.
It is for the best that all stopped, isn't it? It's just they stopped that, didn't they? All that music, all them sound effects just stopped.
Cards on the table. I think it's the superior version, and I'm not joking. I'm gonna say it. I'm putting it out there. Come for me in the replies.
Cards on the table. If one version of that song contributed more to Brexit, it was that version. It was that version.
No.
Look at that, the knowing laugh of recognition. You know it's true.
That could be said of Hard-Fi, perhaps, but the Futureheads, I don't think so.
Well, Sam, we've had a couple of dalliances with old Harrison Fjord, and I know that he has impressed on previous installments, but I know he is bemused in his main outings as the hard-headed and fedora-capped master of archaeology and whimsy that is Indianapolis Jones. And I know that you had two bad ones or two less than good experiences, but you seems to be a little bit more positive this time because, unlike me, you took that song to be as a positive expression.
Yes. So, look, here's my actual initial gut reaction. That's more like it. That's there we go. That's more like it.
That's exactly what you want. You want in the third installment of a beloved trilogy to finally hit the "that's more like it."
That's more like it,
and then have a good 20 or so years, and then you go, "Not like that."
so here's my reaction to the three films. Number one, that's it. Number two, that's less like it. Number three, that's more like it. And so, but then that implies that the first one was the pinnacle, but I don't... right, okay. This was the right thing. I enjoyed this.
Could you also say that part three was the way, you liked it?
Yes. I could say that.
That's good to know.
I won't, but I could.
We are doing Indy 4 over in Cinema Swill, right? That is the plan.
Yeah.
The stupid plan.
I'm very excited to talk about that film. That's going to be a belter, I think. Fond memories.
Fond memories. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know?
You never forget your first Indiana Jones film.
You don't. No. You never forget your first close encounter of the fourth kind, which I believe we'll be having a bit of fun at that later over on the old patreon.com/cinemaswirl. But hey, we went back in time to start things off. And I know what you're thinking. Indiana Jones is already back in the time of ye olden Nazi time. Even further back to the time of Boy Scouts. Remember those?
I mean, so I do remember those. Stanley's dander was up immediately because there were horses on screen, which he thinks are just big dogs. So he was a bit upset at those horses.
And I know what you're thinking, Sam. You wouldn't be taking Stanley to the kingdom of Rohan. I mean, the Rohirrim. Theoden et al. Would not be impressed, I think.
No, and also dogs aren't allowed. But Sean, there's a little spoiler / vindication for me in the credits that were coming up at the start. Sean Connery as Professor Henry Jones. So I'm like, he's related. He's related to our Indiana.
He's a fun uncle, listen to you. That's what Sean Connery ultimately is the ultimate fun uncle for a certain time. And
we get a returning appearance of River Phoenix as young Indiana Jones, who we last saw in old Stand By Me, didn't we? Saw River.
He is so good at doing young Indy. It is ridiculous.
Yes.
So good at doing young Harrison Ford, to the point where all of you big Star Wars fans out there, and I know we all have our favorite Star Wars movie, Solo. So low were the scores on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes that none of you went out and saw the great movie about Han Solo. But I think that the guy they bred in a test tube to be young Han Solo, people are like, oh, he must have paid very close attention to Harrison's performance. I submit that perhaps he threw a casual glance at the powerhouse performance of young River Phoenix here, who is nothing if not a conduit for old Harry Ford.
Oh yeah, excellent casting and a lovely bit of business from River here.
Maybe want to watch the young Indiana Jones Chronicles again back in my granny's house. Without the sound on. That was the thing my granny would do. She would put on really interesting things on the telly, but never have the sound on. It was just kind of... My granny was doing ambience before YouTube was even a thing, is what I'm saying.
Little Indy, he's nicking a golden crucifix from a bunch of grave robbers on a Boy Scout expedition. He just happens to be there.
Do you like how they flip reversed it and it made you think that, oh, there was Indiana Jones, and instead it was a crook and a couple of guys going, whoa, 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 whoa,
yes,
whoa, whoa.
Whoa! And one of the crooks is bloody Sean Astin, isn't it? One of the little...
I think so.
One of the crooks.
Yeah. Playing
there we go.
A figurative crook, not a literal crook, in the way that he stole all of our joy by his antics. His fan-phobic antics over the years.
Oh no, is he fan-phobic? Not a fan of the fans?
I mean, for what it's worth, I've heard people saying that of all the people that they've paid 150 quid to queue up to get a picture of at a convention, that he was the least fun.
Okay.
And he also wrote an autobiography which was like, there and back again with a bunch of ungrateful cunts who never gave me my due.
So Indy, from a young age, has his principles. He thinks the crucifix belongs in a museum. And there's nice little glimpses here, because there's a bit where he sort of drops off a small cliff onto his horse, but completely misses it, because he's not quite yet full Indy.
He's not the finished article, as we would say. He's a draft at this point, a draftsman.
Yes.
Or drafts boy, I guess.
Lovely chase sequence on a train, running along the kind of roof of the train. Nice tracking shot that lasts longer than you expect, but you savour every minute of it.
You know what I think is particularly great about... I know this is in like all indie movies, I know, but I think it's here most, and I think every single one is exactly like, this is like a 10-course tasting menu, and every single thing I like is a delight and something I love. But instead of dishes, it's chase sequences. And I love a good chase sequence, but this movie has got so many of them, and they're all so well done. Music, action, looks still great for, there's a couple of maybe borderline ropey looking green screeny bits, but man...
We'll get to those.
I'm here for a train chase any day of the week.
Yeah.
And I like as well that every 2 seconds something happens that is like, I don't know, it was very video gamey. It reminded me of the great feeling I would get playing an Uncharted game, which I guess this is what they're pursuing in those video games, is this aesthetic of like just falling into random holes. You think, oh, he's screwed. This child is going to be murdered by this sexy man. And then he falls in. No, there's a rhino. There's a lion. There are snakes. There's a magician's box. Even scarier.
The scariest
of them all. Mana.
I mean, it felt a little bit I'm a Celeb young Indy getting dunked into these boxes of creepy crawlies.
I know, it's ridiculous though, because young Indy here, he's actually Henry Jr. He's a sitting member of Parliament, which is ridiculous that he was on this adventure to begin with. He shouldn't be doing it, no.
Yeah, no, I think us laughing at him eating a kangaroo knob is not enough. But Indy doesn't do that, as far as we see.
No, what we see here is why Indiana Jones became the same man as Bam Margera. A fear of snakes and a pursuit of ultimate truth. That's what it is. A fact.
I'm Indiana Jones. What will I do next?
Well, I mean, him with his dad, and he's like, Bam, I'm just trying to read the newspaper. And he comes in, no! Stop!
I like the little disappearance in the magic caboose, by the way, and the term magic caboose.
Sorry, what? What's that?
I love that. The magic cart on the trains. There's like this.
Outside of complimenting my wife, I've not heard that phrase in a while. Magic caboose.
There's the snake caboose, there's the lion caboose, and at the end there's a magic caboose. And I think magic caboose is a great compliment to give.
Again, it just says to me, like you said, like there's a lion's arse, there's a snake's arse, and there's a magical arse, and they're all great. Like
that's where that term for arse comes from. It means like rear train carriage.
Really?
So you're carrying a caboose because the caboose is like there's a magic caboose at the end.
Now here's a question: is it a special rounded end of the train, or is by default any end of a train a caboose?
Look, I'm not a caboose expert.
I was going to say, we might be heading to the world of engineering now, and it might not be very fun for the listeners.
But I think a caboose is definitely like a train cart.
Okay.
And now I'm thinking about where is a snake's arse? Because you mentioned a snake caboose, but where is the arse of a snake?
You see, the snake, because it has extra senses, when its tongue comes out, it's always, it's almost like tasting the air, but it's also trumping the air as well. Going,
Okay. Fair enough.
They are the rudest animals in the animal kingdom. Farting out their mouths.
Indy manages to make it out of the magic caboose, runs home to the Jones house, and we don't see Papa Jones here.
Now, this is some clever anti-aging techniques, which is they just don't show him. And
not showing his face.
Sean, can you do a slightly higher voice? Indy! Oh, there we go. Perfect. Sam, do you reckon that you and I could have done with having a formative train ride like this where we encounter a man who we would then dress exactly like and fall into a cart that will determine... This is basically like an RPG. You're creating your character at the start, and this is why they have all these various bits. Like you would have fallen into a Pepsi caboose, for instance. You
had that adventure where you were being chased by that podcaster, and at the end he gave you his Blue Yeti. I'm just thinking with that anti-aging technique of just not showing the face, I'm wondering if when Martin Scorsese did that Netflix film and made Robert De Niro all young, if he'd have just cut off from the neck up, it would have been much easier and much cheaper to get done.
It would have been a lot more seamless, I can guarantee you that, Sam.
Also, a niche casting observation. Indy's got a little Boy Scout mate who I think is incredible because this kid looks like a cartoon caricature of like an early 20th century Boy Scout. Like it's ridiculous how much he looks like a cartoon human.
He was like a cartoon character. He was absolutely amazing. When he rushes in afterwards out of breath with his, I was like, it's weird, like I was expecting him to have his little trumpet or whatever. It was fantastic. It was excellent.
Yeah.
He looks like he'd give you a tutorial in a video game about being a Boy Scout in the early days. It was very, very good. And I also observed as well that Indiana Jones, the mean streak that comes from his father insisting that he counts to 20 in Greek, like he's Boris Johnson or something like that. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it would be enough to turn you into Indiana Jones. But the chief grave robber who ends up getting the crucifix gives him the famous hat. They pass over the hat, and you go. He's got the hat now.
Why would you keep that? I don't respect the dead, kid. There's no such thing as consecrated ground.
And we cut to older Indy.
It's modern day, but it's a horrible alternate universe where modern day is dirty 1938. That'd be like if you arrived there in the time machine, you'd be like, "Hey, have you got another pound coin that we can have?" plug into this and maybe try another year.
He's still after the same old crucifix. He's nicked it back from the original bloke, not the guy with the hat, but a guy with a different hat. Nicked it back, nearly gets thrown overboard, breaks free. There's a big storm. It's sort of a mini chase sequence, this. He's getting off a boat. He's running off.
I mean, it was to the point where I was like, fair fucks, lads. You've given me a whole big fancy boat going overboard stormy sequence, and we were here for like 3 minutes, maybe. Is that it? Is,
yeah.
It is an opulent movie, Sam. It is unctuous in its use of set pieces.
It is unctuous. We get an exploding boat. I mean, that's that's a showstopper choice there. But the show doesn't stop. Indy goes back to old stuffy university. Say, guys, it's not about, adventures and that. It's about research and reading.
And books.
But little do those students know, he's been out there on an exploding boat. But he's like, I'll just read some dusty old books.
And you know what, Sam? I couldn't help but notice in our third outing here with Indy that as much as he is a paragon of virtue in his own mind, this supposed lecturer of Egyptology, who I'm just saying Ofsted should give more than a cursory glance to, he seems to still find himself in the pocket of big museum. He can't help but be a slave to the... And I mean, there is a school of thought that says that museums are a moral absolute right. And I feel like I can't discuss that with you, an Englishman, because that is a pretty skewed view of the world. Well, give us back our giant bones.
No.
I thought I'd ask.
It's worth a go. So, Indy meets with Walter Donovan, a noted museum contributor.
I call him a fop, if that's a correct use of the term.
He is a bit of a fop. Yeah, he's a bit of a fop.
He's certainly not dandy.
But he's brought a big old tablet, must be one of the Pro iPads, with information about the actual Holy Grail, like the legit Holy Grail.
This guy is now literally, not only is he in the pocket of a big museum, he's been taken off here now for this fancy private meeting, where he does as well, by the way, is promised champagne, a fancy dinner, and a word I had to Google, which was an honorarium, which is basically an honorarium is basically just a big fat envelope with your fucking take inside, a little taste of the action. He is essentially a champagne socialist. I think we should be saying this right here first and foremost.
Yeah.
In the sense that I don't know what that term socialist means.
No, but you know what champagne means.
It means he's drinking champagne. I don't like him. It makes him a champagne socialist, right?
Socialist.
Okay.
Yeah. So this guy, Walter, says that every man's dream is eternal youth. Is that your dream? Would you dream for eternal youth?
I mean...
Do you want to keep going forever?
But there's a difference between eternal youth and eternal life, right?
Yeah.
It's true, right? Eternal life seems to be like I could live forever, but it could be in some sort of a horrible death becomes her situation, and I find myself becoming a horrible, grotesque bag of bones and a zombie and a kitschy icon for gay culture.
Yeah.
I don't want that. That's not my place, But, on the other hand, eternal youth, I feel like someone who's only come into my own in my mid to late 20s onwards, and I'm in my 30s now, and I'm kind of as happiest with who I am that I've ever been. Imagine being fucking 19 forever. Jesus fucking Christ. Awkward for eternity. No, thank you.
And I think the Cortinas would have to rewrite that song. Because you are 19 forever. I wouldn't want to live forever, I don't think.
Nah. I will take up your opportunity of living forever, but I should be allowed to kill myself if I really want to, okay?
You can make the choice at a time that you see fit.
Life is for the living, but I think those with eternal life should be given an out.
Yes. Fair enough. The tablet has a big missing portion, though. Should have bought that screen protector that they offered you. And the project leader, assigned by Lord Sugar, because he wasn't cutting his weight in the previous task, has gone missing, and Indy's sent to, you need to go and find him and resume the mission. But the project leader is Indy's dad.
What?
It's old man Jones.
Indy, I got some crazy thing for you. We've basically got a trail of various clues, the first of which I'm going to give you now, which will take you to various set pieces across the world. And I hope you've packed your lunch, because it's going to be an adventure.
You know what I love, and I can't remember if this is in the other Indy movies. I assume it is. A red line on an old map moving up and down. Yeah. I love that.
Best way to travel. Great. Best way to travel.
Can't get enough of it.
Oh, I'll tell you
Absolutely
what. Going on a red line, sticking your head out the side. Way. Amazing stuff, like.
You can see all the names of the places. So Indy and his mate Marcus, they're heading off to Venice now.
Oh, this is for the boring puzzle bit. Like, you know, there's always one of these in one of these games. You have to do this kind of tedious library puzzle-based thing. Roman numerals and all that, like.
They meet a woman called Elsa, who is ostensibly Indy's dad's colleague, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But she's sort of the love interest / villain here for Indy.
What I will say is there was immediate red flags and alarm bells with her in her willingness to be like, yeah, let's smash the library floor. Like, let's absolutely fuck it up. And they try and time it when the guy's doing his stamp. I would have just farted loudly, personally, you know, but that's the snake in me, you know?
I did like the little librarian stamp goof. That was funny when he stamps it and it makes a big, loud, smashy noise. Is this what escape rooms are like? Because I've still not actually done any escape rooms. Is that the gimmick here? That you just kind of do rubbings, point at numbers?
I was going to say, like,
smash a library
I don't want to give you a
bits.
bad idea that you go into an escape room and you start smashing shit up, like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you, if you're in an escape room and someone comes in and tells you to stop, you're doing it wrong.
I'm fucking escaping. And so Indy smashes into the floor because that's where there's a little number puzzle. He realises it's the floor. Elsa's straight down there, straight into the hole. Indy comes down too.
It's a rat house.
Meanwhile, some lads in fezzes knock out Marcus and drag him away. Good jokes in Indiana Jones films. I kind of forgot that.
Solid
little
gags
visual gags
throughout. Lots of visuals, lots of little quips.
Indy saying, "Oh, rats," and then you pan down and there's rats. Good. I'm not really scared of rats. I don't want to. It's a weird flex. But people are quite worried about rats. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'd rather 1,000 rats than one Spidley, is what I'm going to say.
Really?
Yeah.
I just think I think you're underestimating the power of 1,000 rats, because 1,000 rats could, shred all the flesh off your body, whereas one Spidley didn't would just make you go, ah, and then you jump off a bridge in fear or something like that, So both dangerous in different ways. But I will say, these were Hollywood rats, so they were all very handsome, all very well looking, all very, very, photogenic.
Obviously trying to get, the attention of some of the agents here.
Elsa goes through something that can be best be described as damselification here, where as soon as all the rats and icky things appear, she's like, hey, old Indy. And the only way she can move is on his shoulder. That's the only way that she can effectively locomote.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he picks her up out of this, sort of sludgy water. We're talking about I'm a Celebrity. This is now giving me Fort Boyard vibes. It's going from different kind of, Did you ever watch Fort Boyard?
I did watch Fort Boyard. I may have missed the one where they went through the tunnels filled with petroleum, but, that may have been one of the later seasons where they wanted to spice it up. And you're all wearing these big nylon jumpsuits, so, when that flame goes, it's going to be extra spicy for you.
So they find the right tomb. Indy's doing his little rubbing of the extra tablet information.
It's one of the rare in-the-field uses of trace paper that you will find.
Yeah.
I defy anyone to carry trace paper on them in an adventurous environment and it not get ruined immediately. I mean, come on, it's trace paper.
I think, history and geography teachers should show this clip to kids to kind of say, look, see, it works for Indy and it's actually worthwhile as doing this.
Now let's all go destroy the library, kids.
So the petroleum water is on fire. There's rats in the flame water. But they managed to come out through a little manhole in the middle of a restaurant outside dining area. So they're safe.
Can I just say as well, the number of times in this movie where I was like, the reason why I enjoyed The Mummy so much is probably because of a lot of stuff from this. A lot of what makes this movie good, and I'm not saying it's a rip-off or anything, I'm just saying that it's from the same playbook of that kind of the mucky adventure, the quips, them coming out covered in shit and petrol and rats, and people be like, excuse me, while they're having their coffees. Good times, very good times.
There wasn't a monocle splashing down into a cup, but I feel like spiritually there was. Right, this feels extremely Bond, this next sequence.
Because we got boat chase.
Boat chase through Venice.
Oh,
Elsa's driving the boat while Indy's fighting a guy on the back.
I think the fact that they're being chased by a man in a fez makes it a little bit more 70s James Bond, where it's a local.
Big explosions. You could put Bond music on this sequence and it would fully read as Bond and you wouldn't even question it.
Fucking good. It's so good.
It's very good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Because Joe's playing Grand Theft Auto style 5 at the moment, where every other mission is like kind of a big set piece action. Oh, you're on this vehicle that flies into this vehicle. And I'm not going to lie, I've been getting a little bit jealous. And then watching this movie, I felt I could vicariously live through this movie. Because again, that's another set piece. This is we're 3 for 3 now, and they're all great.
So it turns out the Fez lads, which I'm sure is not the name of their group.
The Fez lads. How dare you?
They were just trying to keep the Grail safe. They're protecting the Grail.
They're part of the Cruciform Sword Order. It sounds like a group of people who would come to my Catholic school and be like, you're going to learn about why one of these things that we do is extremely important. Then let's have a really tense benediction. Fuck, all right, lads.
Cruciform Sword Order has a really chewy mouthfeel, doesn't it? There's a lot of
It's good. Oh. It's good.
So the first fella's like, oh, okay, you care about the Grail too, so I'll tell you where your dad is. And so they're heading towards dad. Now, Elsa and Indy, who, they're both attractive people.
And they've had 2 capers now, which increases the sexual tension tenfold.
They have a little scene together with some tension, and then they start kissing sort of angrily.
I hate you.
It's basically, I hate you as well. But that's just how romance works.
I will say, I thought it was very funny that they were like, oh, well, you can't talk to me like that. And they're like, wow, you're the most annoying person I've ever met. And then they kissed him like, don't kiss me, you fucker. Like, I'm going to kiss you right back, you sick son of a bitch. And then when she bit his ear, admittedly slightly too hard, that would have just killed it straight away. It would have all went, no, that was too much. That was too much.
Indy doesn't like fast women.
What is that? What's a fast woman?
Is that because she was piloting the boat? Is that
fast woman?
You were simply too fast to like fast women.
If you don't like that she's fast, you'll hate it when she's a Nazi, which is all the time. She's a Nazi.
They travel to Austria. I really like Indy doing a bit of espionage by doing silly characters. But to be fair, I didn't recognise that the accent was meant to be Scottish.
Yeah.
Until the bloke guarding the door was like,
yeah, this some see you Jimmy fucking bullshit. Harrison Ford shows his arse. There's a blind spot in his acting repertoire, and it's anything even tangentially meant to be Scottish.
It's a very funny scene. But there's Nazis here in this castle.
Oh, and let me tell you, this is from a boy who got Escape from Castle Wolfenstein on the PC, the 90s remake or whatever, and spent a long time being like, oh, look at the lovely hills and the night. It's a nice, but I do love Austria. It is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see some nice movies, not Nazi ones.
Not Nazi movies, just nice Austria.
Those are nice buildings, and I'd like to see them not used as layers.
Yes, it's a beautiful place. Beautiful architecture. Beautiful hills. Oh, great. Sean Connery's here. Sean's here.
Here we fucking go. Movie's starting now. Wake up, Dad.
Daddy Jones, calling Indy Junior. He doesn't like. He prefers Flynn. And their dynamic is... Their dynamic is indeed, as I suspected, a little bit strained.
And I think what happens here, Sam, is notice the only thing that these two can talk about is their trades. They can only talk shop. And I think if you follow in your father's footsteps, you're doomed to this. This could have been you and your dad if you became an insurance man. Just think about that for a second. You just be talking about the rates of insurance.
The Joneses, they're jonesing for a big old shouting match.
Oh, they argue.
The Nazis are here.
The Nazis are in the house. I did expect the Third Reich to show up here, admittedly, though, yes.
Father and son are arguing over the fact that Indy brought the diary. Oh, the Daddy Jones has got a diary about, all this Holy Grail stuff. He's got all the clues in his little diary. Indy actually brought it, which he wasn't supposed to do because it might fall into Nazi hands.
You know what, Sam, as well? What's particularly golden about this era is I don't think there is a time or a movie where human beings can be killed with such mirth, is the right term, such joy and excitement as Nazis being killed in Indiana Jones movies. Like, I feel like a Marvel movie will never kill even like a strange alien with the joy and the frankness. Like, Indy's basically like, you call me Junior one more time, I'm gonna kill this Nazi with a Tommy gun. Now, Junior, come. And then they're both like,
It's used as like
it's great.
It's used as punctuation to an argument to just end it. It's like, and he shoots some Nazis.
It is somewhat like, I know they're Nazis. It is still somewhat jarring because it's like people die in this movie and then Nazis really die in this movie, you know?
Yeah, they proper die. So one of these nasty Nazis has got Elsa captive. Oh no. So Indy's like, I'm going to hand over my gun. And Elsa takes the diary. She's working with the fucking Nazis.
Yeah, and I get why Indy struggled here because Sean Connery's like, she's a Nazi. And he's like, right, Sean, I know we're all meant to take your opinions on women with, at best, a pinch of salt. All right. No, she's a woman killer. She's a woman killer now. So, you know, it does turn out she's a Nazi, though, you know.
Now, there's a little scene where the father and son, they talk about this situation. And Indy asks his dad, how did you know she was a Nazi? And Daddy Jones replies, she talks in her sleep. And then there's a little bit where these two lads are looking back and forth at each other, kind of wrapping their heads around, you know, and I feel like that scene sort of borders on being kind of gross and also kind of cute.
What, do they both have had sex with the same Nazi?
But the looks that they're giving each other.
I mean, Sam, I get awkward if I ordered the same entree as my dad in a restaurant, you know? I couldn't imagine.
You both had sex with the same Nazi.
Like, we've both had sex with a Nazi. We feel weird. We've both the same. Oh my God. Like, you know?
This film is funny. I'm going to put it out there. It's a funny movie.
It is. And I like when the next Nazi shows up, he like clicks his heel and he's like, I am a Nazi. And then, you know, it's all right. There's a much less ambiguity about whether or not the heel click, watch out for that.
Yep. And there's a little bit here where they've got the diary, but there's some pages missing. Indy's given them to his mate Marcus, and Elsa's like, we'll find him, we'll track him down. And then he does this whole speech of like, he's got a 2-day head start. He's got friends in every town and village from here to Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages. He knows every custom.
He's our man on the continent, right? Yeah.
You'll never see him again. And then you cut to Marcus basically being like James May in a different country, just being like, well, does anyone speak English? I don't know what's going on.
Where's the nearest harvester? I need to eat. I'm starving.
And he gets captured pretty much immediately after that point, which is just a little goof. It's a bit of fun.
When they are tied to the chair and they're trying to escape,
yes.
And I will say as well, it was very fucking generous of their own spirit to think that they could get through several layers of rope with a pocket lighter. But when they accidentally set fire to the entire castle, we have a big madcap, another caper. This was borderline Scooby-Doo-esque. Them running around, they going through one door, coming out another, like a door, you know, a wall turns around, and there's like loads of Nazis in there being like, whoa, you know?
It was very cartoony actually. And when they launch a boat down the river so that the Nazis follow the boat, but actually they're getting away on a motorcycle with a sidecar, which is perhaps the most cartoonish of all vehicles.
Absolutely. Just think about this, right? The Great Escape. Really emotional, cool, fist-pumping moment where he's got... If there was his dad was in the sidecar, different movie, different scene, different career, I'm going to go as far as to say.
Very different.
Very different.
And also, I don't think they wouldn't have made it over the jump, I don't think.
Definitely
They would have toppled out and rolled down the hill and it would have been funny. There's even a little bit of motorbike flagpole jousting, which, taking it back to Bam Margera feels like something that the Jackass crew would have done.
Absolutely. And I will say as well, a shout out to Sean Connery here, who has so far not forgotten his umbrella once, and is a man who can't go to the shops without just offering an umbrella to
leaving it somewhere
to the universe. You know, I appreciate that to see someone have that shit locked down.
These are all very solid, good, fun action sequences, Kevin. It's delivering.
It makes me think about, remember we did Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, and it felt like every 5-10 minutes there was a really fun action sequence. But in terms of the actual plot of why everyone was doing what they were doing, it's like, well, let's draw you a diagram. You know, whereas this, it's like, we have to go here. Why? Because the book says so. Because we have to get to the treasure, and the baddies are going to get... It's so fucking straightforward. But the caper is the level of caper is so high, you know? As in, like, if you didn't like salty, sour things, you'd send the dish back. There's so much caper in this.
The plot is pretty simple, and it makes loads of room for capers and for characters, you know? We've got room for both of those things to breathe.
There's girth for mirth, is what we like to say.
There is girth for mirth. There's traps surrounding the Holy Grail. There's booby traps, and Sean's diary has the clues. That diary is back in Berlin, so they've got to go back to Berlin.
To go into the Death Star. Are you fucking kidding me?
The belly of the goddamn beast. Now, I know it's diegetic music, but the music when we get shitloads of Nazis marching around burning books is quite upbeat.
I was shocked by it. And there was a thought I had, and this is throughout, I guess, this movie and the first Indiana Jones movie that we did, which is like, you see Nazis a lot in the movie, and they almost always have a bit of music, but it's always different. And I think that was a choice on the composer and the director's behalf, because I feel like you can't give the Nazis a theme, could you? You can't give the Nazis a John Williams score. It'd be too much. So it's always just some sort of misanthropic horn that you get later on, you know? But here, they were joyous because they were burning books, which they love to do.
They love doing that. Nazis don't deserve a leitmotif. I'm going to say it. I'm putting it out there.
Any motif.
It was quite jaunty, and my foot was tapping. I was like, oh no, I shouldn't be enjoying this music.
Speaking of jaunty, the fucking jauntiness of the hat on Elsa here. No Nazi should be this fucking fashionable. She was like fascist Carmen Sandiego here. I had all sorts of mixed emotions here. I'd say, oh no, I'm not really a Nazi. I just want to be immortal. Oh, come on. Pull the other one.
Yeah, and Indy, he's got his controversial Halloween costume on to fit into this whole thing. Elsa's suggesting like her main concern is the Grail itself, not hanging out with the Nazis. But, you know, we don't... Come on. But, and also Indy gets an actual autograph from Hitler.
I guarantee
Indiana Jones face to face with Hitler.
I like that, you know, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker coming face to face. I just would have really enjoyed an alternate take where he's like, I got you now, you son of a bitch. And then, you know, he gives him he sparks him out, and then there's a big brawl right there in Berlin. Throw all the Nazis on the fire. Wilhelm screens, 20 of them at least. Great scene it could have been. They
denied us the animated GIF of Indiana Jones punching Hitler in the face. You know, what a great thing that would have been for us culturally. Now, Kevin, I don't know if this is a silly thing to say, if this is a bad idea. I mean, maybe famously it is. I'd love a trip on a Zeppelin.
I've literally written the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Every day I'm wishing that I'm blimping. You know, and I don't know about you. I know that blimping ain't easy. I've heard this many a time because of the hydrogen and whatnot. But I was taught about the Zeppelin industry and the great airships of the 30s and 20s over and over again in school. It felt like I was taught in history. I was taught it in religion for some reason. I was taught in all sorts of different classes. And every time the teacher did it with kind of like and it was good for the environment, it was luxurious, it was cheap, it looked cool, but someone ruined it by smoking. And none of you better be doing that.
They're a real assembly lesson of a transportation
method. Do you remember your PSHE lesson where you learned about the wily teens who ruined the aviation industry of blimps and Zeppelins because they wanted to look cool and grown up. Well, how grown up is it now that we only have fucking planes?
Unfortunately, blooming Nazis on board hunting for Sean Connery, and so we get a bit of everyone's got their newspapers up, so that he's going around sort of peeking behind the newspapers looking for people.
That is very much the 1938 equivalent of someone pulling out an earbud as well, by the way. I'd be like, sorry, I just want to... You pull down a broadsheet newspaper? It takes me like an hour to fold out. Come on.
Indy, though, in disguise, punches the Nazi, throws him out of the window, and says to all the other passengers, "No ticket."
Yeah,
because he's dressed as like a ticket guy.
And he's referencing Kevin Smith and Dogma there, if you remember that movie. It was a big influence, of course, on George Lucas and Steven Spielberg here. And fun fact as well, they do this once a month on the trams in Manchester to someone just to, you know...
drive the point home.
I mean, it's an honor system, but Andy's no fool, right?
No. We get a little bit of an awkward drink and chat between father and son here. They're still, struggling to get on, struggling to relate. But it's
you know what? Nothing will bond you like a father and son than getting into another vehicle for another chase. Whee!
Yeah, they've been turned around, so they realise they're going back to Germany. Off they go into the little dinky escape plane, which again, well, I was going to say I'd like a go on one of those, but I don't think I would like a go on one of those compared to the Zeppelin. The Zeppelin still feels much safer.
I could put my feet out in a Zeppelin. I feel like you and I as tall boys would struggle in a light Nazi aircraft from the 30s.
Oh, your knees would be fucked, wouldn't they?
Don't think it was built for comfort somehow for the taller gentleman.
Now, this film, for the most part, looks beautiful, looks expensive, looks unctuous, as you mentioned. It looks good.
However,
we get some early-ish green screen stuff here, which is not terrible.
And I also would argue it's not necessary. It's for a scene of like him.
No.
The guy gets thrown out, landed on a load of luggage, and then it's like you're meant to see him on the luggage with the blimp kind of taken off overhead. And it's like, we already know we're on a blimp. We don't need any more, like,
Yeah. But the bit of them in the plane and, firing the gun and stuff, we get, they're not really in the plane. So we see a bit of green screeny stuff. But mixed in with how great everything else looks in HD, it looks a little bit silly, but nowhere near as bad as it could have done.
And George Lucas, you're all right with that? You sure? You don't want to?
Do you want to have another go?
You have another go? Like,
I'm not sure. Maybe he has.
It's all right. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. This is as good as we've gotten. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, it's fine in the way that A New Hope without extra dewbacks was allegedly fine. Fine.
Yeah.
What is fine? It's a code word for shit, isn't it? Like,
and they have to crash land, and then they're driving away, and them driving through a tunnel as a flaming plane comes into the tunnel, and then like passes them by, and the pilot kind of looks over, like he's sort of overtaking on the M1. It's very, very funny.
So funny.
It's proper. And
just long enough for you to go, have I just laughed kind of with a Nazi doing like a sardonic look and then he explodes?
Yeah, so you don't have time to think.
All his skin and everything. It's great. And then they're like, hang on a second, Junior, I want to be sure.
And Sean Connery, the aforementioned umbrella, comes in handy because he scares some seagulls.
Yes, his special mana that he has, which is a seagull summoning spell that he can do.
Crashes a Nazi plane. Bish, bash, bosh.
Oh my goodness. Sam, did you check out the stars on offer here tonight? Alternative British comedy stars out the wazoo. That's right, none other than Alexei Sale himself showing around some Nazis, showing them a car, which lets me get to do this very fun joke. You ready now? Maybe have a quick look at Alexei Sale's Wikipedia page. Familiarise yourself with them, because I don't want this to be wasted on you. I'm not doing this flippantly.
Sure.
Heil, John got a new motor.
I mean, yes, very good. Very good.
He's a National Socialist. He's a National Socialist. Hello, John got a new motor. Hello, John. Nazi.
So, it's now essentially
a mad dash to immortality.
It's a race for the prize, and the prize is literally the Holy Grail. Mad dash.
And the Nazis have got tanks and gangs of lads in cars and jeeps, and you just got Indy and his dad chucking along as best they can, using nothing but the bootstraps by which they've pulled themselves up by.
Yes, everyone's headed in the same direction. The baddies have got the map, but Indy's got Sean Connery, who sort of knows the stuff.
He's like a human map, really, isn't he, of a sort? And you know what I think as well, and I didn't think there'd be more reasons to hate the Nazis, but thematically there is here, because not only are these Nazis a symbol of all that is wrong in the dark hearts of fascism, but also the hubris of the group as well. There's not even a whiff of once bitten, twice shy with regards to powers you can't possibly comprehend. You only melted a year or two back in the last one, come on.
Yeah, no, they're going for it again.
Don't you remember the team meeting about melting?
The Fez lad who was trying to protect the Grail and his whole gang, they're got by the Nazis, so it's sad to see them go. Just as Sean Connery is about to rescue Marcus, who's one of the good guys but who's been captured by the Nazis, Sean Connery gets caught. And he gets caught in a tank.
Now we had a lot of Wilhelm screams in this scene. There's a lot of like Nazis doing big tumbles, going But I was quite distracted because anytime a Nazi threw one of their stick grenades, we got like ninja star sound effects. Like anytime he threw a stick grenade, it went. I was expecting him to get stabbed with them or something.
Or maybe they're sharper than they look. I don't know. That could be like a little added feature. It sticks in.
Yeah, true.
Indy, he's got horses, bunch of horses. So Stanley's dander was once again up.
Tanks and horse. Are you sure it wasn't tanks? Because Stanley may not like tanks. You don't know.
I don't know, but it was horse v tank.
There's no wonder. Why is this my favourite indie movie? Horse v tank. There you go.
Horse v tank.
Easy.
Who's going to come out on top? And then we get Indy versus the main Nazi guy. And it's just a big old...
Who is not Hitler, I should point out. That's the difference.
Oh, no, but the within this group of Nazis...
the main Nazi, yes.
The main Nazi within these Nazis. I thought a lad was going to go under a tank at one point, under the kind of the tank... What do you call them? The tank tracks?
Tracks?
But we don't see it.
Yeah, not wheels, they're tracks.
This film isn't, like, super-duper violent. It's quite tame on its blood and guts.
But, I mean, there's a cut of this where you see the big splat, right? And you're like... you know?
And again, with the action shots and the chase scenes here, it's all very well executed and quite fun. Indy's face getting squashed up against a periscope as someone's looking up at the periscope. I mean, that's a genius shot to think of.
It's fantastic. Sean Connery squirting a Nazi with a fountain pen, and then someone taking the time to go, the pen, it's almost as if it's mightier than the sword. Very good. And then he's like, yeah, the pen is mightier than the sword. Now watch this, and boom, missile a whole truckload of Nazis. Boom!
Hey. Also, the score is great throughout all of this. I know it's John Williams, so it's kind of a given, but it is,
yeah. It's
very good.
Fist-pumpingly good. Tank going off a cliff, any vehicle going off a cliff, beautiful stuff. Yeah. Big tank going strong.
Anything off a cliff.
Took in a little tumble. Loved it.
It's a false finish because you think Indy and the main Nazi, not Hitler, the main Nazi with them, have fallen to their deaths. And Sean's like, I thought I can't. I remember that I can't do a Sean Connery impression. I've lost my boy. Is that Sean Connery? I thought I'd lost you, boy.
He should ease his father. He should know better than anyone that canonically the worst thing that can happen to Indiana Jones is that he can become dusty and ornery. That's it.
Yes. And Indy pops up and says, hey, guys, we're all back. So we've got our four main lads.
And now they're entering the Valley of the Third Act. Ooh.
Yes. The big temple.
Big panpipes.
Now, I said just a moment ago, this film isn't too explicitly violent.
Oh.
To be fair, a lad does get decapitated by a booby trap.
He does.
And you do see the head rolling down the thing. But there's no blood.
It was very dry, though. It was like he was a big ham that got carved up at the deli or something like that. He didn't have the splatter or the gristle that I would have expected. So, whatever.
Blood mode turned off, so you just don't see any of that. There's a big confrontation with old Walter Donovan. Again, he's like, my ambitions are bigger than just, working with the Nazis and making them happy. I want that sweet, sweet, everlasting life, which... is, as far as like villain motivations go, it's one of the big ones, isn't it? He just wants to live forever. He doesn't necessarily, he doesn't want to take over the world or anything.
It's true though. They say as you get older, your politics do change and you become a little bit more obsessed. You become a little bit more conservative, a little bit more obsessed with the pursuit of eternal life. These things kind of happen.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at the manifestos, are my taxes going up? Am I getting access to the Holy Grail and the cup and the fount of eternal life? If not, I'm not voting. That's simple as that.
And if you're living forever, you got to be very careful with your pension and where your money sits, is what I would say.
The triple lock is important for the immortal. You don't understand. You don't understand.
So Indy's like, Donovan, shooting me won't do anything. And he agrees and shoots Sean Connery. Pow!
Oh.
Which is a good ploy because it will get Indy to go in and do all the booby traps to get the grail to save his dad.
Indy read the Prima Strategy Guide, aka his dad's diary, earlier on, so he's aware of the 3 challenges that await him. The first one being that a penitent man will pass, and that was bang out of order for me because I was thinking that it was a pedant of a man would pass, and I thought I'll get through here, no bother. But no, he has to kneel down to avoid.
Penitent man has to kneel.
The big blades. It's quick time events, basically. That's what a penance is.
The second challenge, however, is this kind of ancient, dusty puzzle game called Wordle, where you've got to pick letters. Do you remember it? You might have heard about it. He's got to pick these letters, and if he doesn't, he'll fall through. And Jehovah starts with an I. I didn't know that Jehovah started with an I.
I was going to say right here, you'd be fucked here, right? You know, with the lack of religious education, like, you know. But
I would immediately fuck it.
I thought I'd be screwed as well, because I was like, all right, you're going with Yahweh, right? I'm like, no, it's Jehovah, spelt Latin. I'm like, all right, you know. I thought a pedant of a man couldn't pass. What was going on here now?
And the final challenge. So all of these have been kind of like, you know, there's something Sean's been able to help out with here in his diary. You know, like learn Latin or duck when you hear stuff about
Press
tennis.
X.
But the last thing, the hidden bridge, unless I've missed something, the game here seems to be just fucking go for it, mate.
Whoa,
go.
Sam, it's the hardest challenge of all. You have to walk across a bridge made of the crumbliest, flakiest chocolate. This whole cave is made of flake.
Yeah, it's a flaky cave.
I know what you're thinking at home, like, that's easy, I could walk. No, you're thinking of a twirl where it's embossed in an outer layer of chocolate. This is straight up just it's flake. Yeah. It's going to fall apart.
Yeah, but he makes it, and what the fuck? There's some old guy in there. There's some guy.
You know, I thought, right, he's there, and he's like, I've been here for 800 years. I'm like, right, sorry. Hate to take us all out of it, but there's no way in hell that he wouldn't just be really mad and crazy. Like, it would be so funny if Indy makes it through the 3 challenges and he comes in, the guy's like, this is a total madman, like, you're babbling like a fool.
I've got a 20,000 day Wordle streak. And that's what's kept his brain going. So this old guy, he's just the guard of the Grail. You know, he's got the eternal life from the Grail, so we can have a little bit of Grail juice.
He's the eternal life
to keep him going
from the eternal glug that he has bequeathed himself.
Yeah, and there's loads of false Grails and only one true Grail, and the false Grails will kill you. The true Grail will give you eternal life.
Which, as it stands right now, feels like it isn't all it's cracked up to be, because this owl lad here has got an awful, strange, unflattering light on him all the time, which seems to be the curse of eternal life. The baddie comes in, eternal life, more like eternal strife, glug, glug, glug. And basically, he becomes a nightmare creature. It was basically like halfway between what happens in Beetlejuice and what happens in the original Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Am I allowed to say that he briefly turns into Doc Brown from Back to the Future?
Oh yeah, he does.
During this
he does.
He kind of,
it's scary.
Yeah.
I'm scared of him. It's okay.
He gets covered in
that.
like old man makeup, then turns into Doc Brown, then crumbles to dust.
And how you know that he's a wrong'un as well? And this difference between him and me now, Sam, right? Is that he takes his drink, he's like, oh no, I'm turning into a fucking nightmare. He grabs that Elsa and he fucking shakes the bit. He's like, look at me.
Yeah. Well, she picked it, to be fair. She picked the Grail.
If it was you and me, I'd turn around and go in the corner. I'd do it there. And you wouldn't... It'd sweep me up afterwards.
Isn't that what cats do when they know they're like in danger? They go and they hide. Like,
I'll be over here. Don't worry about me.
They crumble to dust over here. The Guardian of the Grail.
He's like, no, choose wisely, not poorly. Oh.
You chose poorly. I'll tell you what, I bet he bloody felt poorly when he was crumbling to dust, because I mean, that would, oh, God. So there's some hidden rules here from this Grail Guardian guy. The cup can't leave the temple, so you can live forever, but you got to fucking stay here in fucking
shit
temple lockdown. Bullshit. Rubbish. But you can take it far enough out that you can go back to your dad and make your dad all better. So that's good.
Is he immortal now? Because, I mean, I know I said earlier, but like, I'm getting worried now about Sean Connery being immortal. I don't like that.
I think what the Holy Grail, obviously I'm an expert on this, the Holy Grail in the water does is it will make you better for a bit, but you have to keep drinking it.
It's like one of them vaccines then, is it, Sam, eh? Huh?
Yeah, you got to have your Holy Grail booster. Yes, and so he's not going to have the booster, but he's going to be better in the short term, which is good. And they just kind of pour it on his wounds and it makes them all better. Very nice. Elsa.
Oh, Elsa.
Oh, Elsa. She excitedly, knowing that they've got the actual fucking Holy Grail, takes the cup. It's like, come on, Indy, we've got the cup, let's go. And she walks across the seal, which the Guardian guy was like, don't, guys, you can have the cup, you can make your dad better, just don't cross the seal with it.
I did say to read all the instructions before you began.
And whoa, big old chasm opens. And this feels so video gamey and like quick time eventy. Like the cup just lands on a little ridge on the side and she's sort of reaching down to get it. Indy's holding on to her. But she's mad with power. She wants the grail. She reaches too far.
And you know what? Just before we're about to judge, as soon as she falls, Indy's like, "Now I'm going to get me some."
Just the same fucking thing. He probably watched that happen. Was like, well, I've got longer arms, so I'm going to be fine here.
It's all right. It's all right. I did Google. I am taller than Harrison Ford, so I would have gotten it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
You know, because in this case, you know, like if it was Sean Connery with me, he would be like, "No, you can actually get it. Go reach, grab it." Like, yeah, I will now. Hang on. What? There you are. All right.
But in this instance, his dad's just saying, "Let it go. Just, hey, Indiana, just let it go."
Easy for you to say, you're immortal.
Well, the Guardian of the Grail looks on and sort of waves by and is fine. But I'm like, that's the fucking Grail that you're guarding, mate. And it's falling down a big chasm. And you're not like, oh, for fuck's sake, guys. I've been here for 700 years.
You know, hate this, Sam. Jesus. He'd fucking be furious.
Oh.
I've only got the one cup and you've fucking chucked it down a chasm now. Thanks. Why is he not coming back? Why do you think he's got no crockery?
I mean, so maybe the Guardian of the Grail is like, thank fuck I get to die now. That's, you know, because the Grail's fallen down a big hole. I can't get my special Grail juice. I'm out. See you guys. Thank you for letting me die. It's kind of what you said about having an out, you know. He's stuck with that responsibility for years and maybe it's just like, right, now's my time. Off I go. See you later.
I'm also going to destroy the temple now as well, just so y'all know.
Yeah, gone. And the lads, they ride off into the sunset. We get the music and everything. And that's the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
We'll fucking see you in Indiana Jones number 4. Yes! Yeah. And the dog's name was Indy. That's why he's got a dog complex. There you go.
Yes.
Sam,
there we go.
That is it's a fun movie. I don't know what other way to say it. It's a fun, action-packed 2 hours. Dare I say, it is still in my mind the perfect Indiana Jones movie. If there is such a thing, it is this.
The third time is undeniably, in this case, the charm, because they've really knocked it out of the park on the third go with this one.
And stuck the landing as well.
And stuck the landing, yeah. And so it's rounding out the trilogy, the end there, perfect. Well done, guys. You did it.
And it was nice.
A nice ending to the franchise.
It was nice to see all the bile and venom and hatred of the second movie channeled towards Nazis instead of, like, you know, Indian people, for instance. You know, it was nice to see the hate used for good as opposed to just plain old-fashioned hate, you know?
It really feels like a film that has, you know, responded well to negative feedback from the previous installment, right?
It's like what bits did you like about the first one? What bits did you not like about it? You know, it's like the bits you didn't like are gone. The caperish elements of number 2 and the kind of mystery and adventure of the first, I feel, have been combined together. And I just, it's honestly, it's rare that a movie can invoke everything from James Bond to The Mummy to, you know, just straight up pure adventure video game fun. You know, it is even in 2022, a fabulous example of the genre. You know, I feel like you know anyone could see this of any age or walk of life and would come away with a big smile on their face. And for a special Christmas dad bonus time, you could fall asleep at any point in this movie, wake up and still be in time for a set piece.
Yeah.
You're not missing the best bit ever.
I was thinking that this is the kind of sequel that I like, where you don't really need to have seen the previous ones, but if you have, there's some little details that you'll have fun with, but it's not like essential reading. It's still an adventure with a character that you can easily grasp and understand. It's not like when I tried to watch some of the, you know, the recent Spider-Mans, I thought, oh, maybe I can... No, I've got to do background reading to even have an idea what the fuck's going on. So that's a good kind of sequel. It's better than the other 2 films, I'd say. It was fun.
Was there anything about you didn't like?
Not really, you know. I thought all the performances were great.
And Sean Connery is like, he's used very well in that it's kind of, if you're someone who's like got a raging hard on for Sean Connery and you think he's Mr. Hollywood and Mr. Action, he's not treated like a total buffoon. But also as well, there's like, it's not like when you were watching The Rock or The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen where it felt like the producers and the directors and the writers were trying to give this old man another, you know, run in the sun and make him feel like he was 29 again. This felt very much like an age-appropriate use of Sean Connery for perhaps the first and only time on this podcast. Maybe with the exception of Highlander, where he's a more immortal.
I think it was a perfect, yeah, you're right, a perfect way of using him. The right sort of person to bring in. It all made sense. It felt right. It's just a really good feeling. Like, the plot was simple enough that you can follow along, and you've got all that room for some really silly, exciting, well put together chase and action sequences. There's jokes in this.
Plenty of
it's
them.
Funny, but it's like inoffensively funny.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I'm glad we took your indie fandom out of the gutter and put it up on the shelf of prestige now, just before we go and do Indiana Jones number 4, where that is going to be rocked right off that shelf.
Look, I mean, if they've built on, the feedback from the first 2 for this third one, then the fourth one, presumably, I mean, I've already seen it, they're going to knock it out of the park, and it's going to be the best one. So I can't wait for that.
Well, Sam, you've had a good time. You're excited for the future of Indy. Indy 5, I'm sure, will be here before we know it. I mean, I'm really excited to find out. What is your star wipe rating for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade?
Okay, so Indiana Jones 1 was 3 star wipes. Indiana Jones 2, 2 star wipes. Indiana Jones 3, 4 star wipes.
You heard it here first, Junior.
Oh, thanks for listening to another episode of Cinema Swirl. This episode was produced by Kevin, edited by me, Sam, and I also did the music. If you want to support the show, then patreon.com/Cinema Swirl is the way to go. If you want to follow us on the socials, we're at Cinema Swirl on Twitter, and facebook.com/Cinema Swirl on Facebook, which is where our votes for episodes take place. If you've got questions, queries, comments, or anything else for the mailbag, then send it on over to cinemaswirl@gmail.com. That's cinemaswirl@gmail.com. Please do keep recommending the show to your friends if you think they'll like it, or even if you don't think they'll like it, just recommend it anyway. Oh, and if there are any bits in recent episodes that you think would make particularly nice video clips, the kind of thing we've had on our socials recently, then send us a tweet and let us know. Alright, we'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.